Most people think falling asleep the moment their head hits the pillow is something to be proud of, a sign of a healthy, tired body finally getting the rest it deserves. But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if falling asleep unusually fast within just a minute or two of lying down was actually your body sending you a quiet signal that something underneath the surface deserves a closer look? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And by the end of this video, you may never think about falling asleep the same way again. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear about something important. Falling asleep quickly is not automatically a problem. Most of us have had nights where we were genuinely exhausted after a long day, a busy week, or a physically demanding afternoon, and we drifted off almost immediately. That's completely normal. What we're talking about today is something different, a pattern, a consistent habit of falling asleep within 1 to 2 minutes, almost every night, regardless of how much activity you had that day, and often paired with other subtle signs that many people brush off without a second thought. Sleep researchers have a specific term for how long it takes a person to fall asleep. It's called sleep latency, which simply means the time between lying down and actually drifting off. In healthy adults, normal sleep latency is generally considered to be somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes. Think of it like a runway for an airplane. A plane doesn't go from zero to liftoff in 2 seconds. It needs a runway, a period of transition, before it lifts off smoothly. Sleep works similarly. Your brain and body need a few minutes to shift gears, slow down, and move into the early stages of sleep. When that runway is almost non-existent, when sleep comes almost instantly, it can sometimes mean the body is carrying a level of fatigue that goes beyond ordinary tiredness. Here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that surprises most people. Extremely fast sleep onset is one of the hallmark signs that sleep doctors look for when evaluating conditions like sleep deprivation, sleep disorders, and even certain underlying health issues that quietly drain energy throughout the day. Later in this video, we'll walk through the specific conditions most worth knowing about. One of them affects a surprisingly large number of older adults, and most of them have no idea they have it. So stay with us, because that section alone could be genuinely important information for you or someone you love. Let's start with the most straightforward explanation: chronic sleep deprivation. This is the most common reason someone falls asleep unusually fast, and it's more common among older adults than many people realize. It doesn't just mean getting too few hours of sleep. It means carrying a long-term sleep debt, a buildup of missed or poor quality sleep over days, weeks, or even months. When you're significantly sleep deprived, your brain builds up something called sleep pressure, a biological drive to sleep that becomes almost overwhelming. When you finally lie down, your brain doesn't need much time at all to slip into sleep, because it's been waiting and building toward that moment for hours. The tricky part is that many people who are chronically sleep deprived don't feel dramatically tired during the day. They've adapted to functioning on less sleep. They might feel a little foggy, a little slower, perhaps less motivated than usual, but they chalk it up to aging or just having a quiet day. Meanwhile, the body is running in a state of exhaustion that it no longer loudly complains about. It simply takes the fastest possible route to sleep whenever the opportunity arises. If you consistently fall asleep within 2 minutes, and you also find yourself nodding off during TV, reading, or quiet afternoons, that pattern is worth paying attention to. Now let's talk about what many sleep specialists consider the most overlooked explanation, and that's obstructive sleep apnea. If you've never heard of it or only vaguely know what it is, here's the simple explanation. Sleep apnea is a condition where the airway at the back of the throat partially collapses during sleep, causing breathing to pause briefly, sometimes dozens or even hundreds of times per night. Each time breathing pauses, the brain briefly wakes itself up just enough to restart normal breathing, even though the person often has no conscious memory of waking up. The result is a night full of interrupted, fragmented sleep that never reaches the deep restorative stages the body needs. And when morning comes, the person feels unrested despite spending 8 hours in bed. Here's why this connects directly to falling asleep too fast. When someone has untreated sleep apnea, their body never truly recovers during the night. Every single night becomes a form of sleep deprivation because the sleep quality is so poor, even if the quantity looks fine. So when they lie down the next night or settle into a quiet chair after lunch, They fall asleep almost instantly because their body is perpetually exhausted and sleep deprived from the night before. The fast sleep onset isn't a sign of healthy tiredness. It's a sign that last night's sleep didn't actually do its job. Sleep apnea is significantly more common in adults over 60, and it affects more people than most realize. Estimates suggest that a large portion of older adults have some degree of sleep-disordered breathing, and the majority are undiagnosed. Common signs to be aware of include loud snoring, waking up with a dry mouth or headache, feeling unrefreshed in the morning despite a full night in bed, and daytime drowsiness that feels excessive. If you recognize any of these alongside very fast sleep onset, a conversation with your doctor about a sleep evaluation would be well worth having. Sleep apnea is treatable, and many people who get treatment report feeling dramatically better within weeks, with noticeably more energy, sharper thinking, and better mood. We'll come back to what you can do practically, but first let's talk about another piece of this puzzle that connects to a topic close to many people's hearts, and that's heart health. There is a documented relationship between chronic poor sleep quality, sleep disorders like sleep apnea, and cardiovascular health in older adults. When the body repeatedly experiences drops in oxygen during the night, as happens in sleep apnea, it places stress on the heart and blood vessels. Over time, this can contribute to elevated blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and other cardiovascular changes. This doesn't mean that falling asleep quickly causes heart problems directly, but it does mean that the underlying issue causing very fast sleep onset, whether it's unrefreshed sleep, sleep apnea, or chronic fatigue, may be connected to systems in the body that are worth monitoring as we age. Think of it this way. Your body is like a house with multiple rooms, all connected by the same electrical system. If something goes wrong in the wiring of one room, it can affect what happens in others. Sleep isn't isolated from the rest of your health. It connects to your brain, your heart, your immune system, your blood sugar regulation, and even your weight. So when the sleep system sends a signal, as it does when someone consistently falls asleep unusually fast, it's worth treating that signal as the body's way of asking for attention, rather than dismissing it as simply being a good sleeper. There's one more condition worth mentioning here, and it's one that many people have never heard of. It's called narcolepsy. And while it's less common than sleep apnea or chronic sleep deprivation, it's more common than most people think and is frequently misdiagnosed or dismissed for years, especially in older adults. Narcolepsy is a neurological condition, meaning it involves the brain's sleep-wake regulation system, where the brain has difficulty maintaining normal wakefulness and can shift into sleep at unexpected moments. One of its hallmark features is an extremely short sleep latency, sometimes falling asleep within 30 seconds to a minute of lying down or even sitting quietly. People with narcolepsy may also experience sudden episodes of muscle weakness triggered by strong emotions, vivid dreamlike experiences when falling asleep or waking, and a feeling of being unable to move briefly when first waking up. If any of those experiences sound familiar, a conversation with a sleep specialist rather than a general practitioner would be particularly valuable. Narcolepsy can be managed effectively once it's identified, but the path to diagnosis can take time, particularly when symptoms have been present for years and have been attributed to other things like depression, poor sleep habits, or just getting older. Now let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this information, because the goal here isn't to worry you. It's to give you the right tools to evaluate your own situation and take the appropriate next steps. The first and most useful thing you can do is start paying attention to your sleep in a more deliberate way. Most of us have a general sense of whether we sleep well or poorly, but we don't track the details. For the next 2 weeks, try keeping a simple sleep log. Nothing complicated, just a few notes each morning about what time you went to bed, roughly how long it took you to fall asleep, whether you woke during the night, and how you felt when you woke up. This kind of simple record can reveal patterns that are genuinely useful to share with a doctor. It also helps you notice whether very fast sleep onset is an occasional thing, after a physically demanding day, or a consistent pattern that happens almost every night regardless of your activity level. The second thing to consider is your daytime energy honestly. Not compared to what you think you should feel at your age, but compared to how you actually functioned a few years ago. If you're falling asleep in front of the television regularly, finding it hard to read for more than 20 minutes without nodding off, or feeling like you never quite get to feeling truly alert and refreshed in the morning, those are signs worth discussing with your doctor. They're not simply symptoms of aging, even though they're often treated that way. They're signals from your body that sleep quality deserves a closer evaluation. Third, and this is something many people overlook, take a look at your sleep environment and evening habits. Alcohol is a significant disruptor of sleep quality, even though it often makes people feel sleepy faster. It reduces the amount of deep restorative sleep the body gets, meaning that the sleep it produces is lighter and less refreshing than it should be, which can worsen daytime fatigue and contribute to falling asleep very quickly the following night. Similarly, certain medications commonly used by older adults can affect sleep architecture, the structure and quality of sleep stages, in ways that worsen fatigue without the person realizing the connection. If you've noticed changes in your sleep patterns after starting a new medication, it's worth mentioning to your prescribing doctor. Let's bring all of this together now. Falling asleep too fast, consistently, and regardless of how tired you actually felt, is not simply a sign of being a great sleeper. It can be a signal worth paying attention to, particularly in adults over 60. The most common explanations include chronic sleep deprivation from accumulated poor quality sleep, obstructive sleep apnea, which is significantly more common in older adults than most realize, and less commonly, neurological sleep conditions like narcolepsy. All of these are identifiable and all of them are manageable when properly evaluated. The key is not to dismiss the pattern as a normal part of aging or something to feel pleased about. The good news is that sleep medicine has made tremendous progress in recent years. Conditions that once went undetected for decades can now be identified through relatively simple evaluations, and the treatments available, from lifestyle changes to medical devices to medications, can make an enormous difference in daily energy, mental clarity, mood, and even long-term cardiovascular health. You do not have to simply accept feeling tired, foggy, or unrested as an inevitable part of getting older. So here's what we'd encourage you to do. If falling asleep within 1 to 2 minutes is a consistent pattern for you, and especially if it comes with any of the signs we discussed today, make a note of it. Track it for a week or two. Then bring it up at your next doctor's appointment, or sooner if the daytime fatigue is significantly affecting your quality of life. You deserve sleep that actually restores you, and in most cases, that's entirely achievable. Before we wrap up, take a moment to think about which part of today's video surprised you most. Was it the idea that falling asleep quickly might not always be a good sign? The connection to sleep apnea and heart health? Or perhaps the mention of narcolepsy, a condition most people have never associated with themselves? Let us know in the comments below. And we'd genuinely love to hear from you personally. How long does it typically take you to fall asleep at night? Do you wake up feeling refreshed or still tired? Share your experience in the comments and let us know your age and where you're watching from. This community is made up of people just like you, sharing real experiences, asking real questions, and supporting each other in the journey of aging as well as possible. Your comment might be exactly what someone else watching right now needs to hear. Take good care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.